What up, what up? It's Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, but today I am the newly hired general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Whew, where do I start? We have the second worst record in the league. Only Golden State is worse. We were 19-46 when the season abruptly ended due to the coronavirus. And now, as the newly hired GM, my job is to try to fix this team and get this team going into the right direction. But first, let me give you a breakdown of what I've inherited. I mentioned we were 19-46. We are 26th in offensive rating, 29th in defensive rating, 29th in net rating, 25th in scoring, 23rd in opponents' points per game, 29th in free throw attempts, 24th in assists, 30th in turnovers, and 30th in blocks. Clearly, a lot of work needs to be done. All right, let's look at our projected rotation for next year. Even though there's a lot of work that needs to be done, we only have one pick in the 2020 draft, so I must get it right. In the front court, I have two of the best rebounders in the NBA. Kevin Love and Andre Drummond are former All-Stars. But if you look at my backcourt, it's one of the smallest in the league. Actually, only Toronto has a smaller backcourt. So one of the things I may be looking to do is add some size in the draft in my backcourt. Now, my first assignment as the new general manager of the Cavs is to find a new home for Kevin Love. Kevin has been great for the organization. He showed his loyalty by signing a new contract when LeBron left, but I just feel like we are going in totally different directions. Currently, the way our roster is set up, we're not in position to win now. What makes Kevin difficult to trade is he has 3 years and $91 million left on his deal. It's going to be hard for me to find a team, especially after this pandemic, that is willing to take on that type of contract. Now let's take a look at some team needs. The areas that I would like to make improvements on are size at point guard, finding a playmaking guard, and possibly adding some depth in the front court just in case we lose a couple guys in free agency. But first, let's talk about the guards. I know. Drafting a point guard for the third year in a row may sound like a mistake. Now, there are 3 point guards in this draft that I think can help us. They're all 6'5" or above, and they're all playmakers that can possibly defend multiple positions. I believe Killian Hayes and LaMelo Ball are franchise point guards and are in a tier above the rest of what is considered a strong point guard class. Hayes and Ball are both playmakers who are at their best with the ball in their hands and playing in pick-and-roll situations, but both will need to improve their outside shooting. I feel Tyrese Halliburton is a connective tissue that you can plug and play in any system, and he can comfortably share the backcourt with a small scoring guard or a dominant ball handler. And in this case, it would be a good fit for our undersized backcourt. Before taking this job, I scouted Darius Garland's freshman season at Vanderbilt, and I had some concerns about him as a point guard since he averaged more turnovers than assists in college, despite playing a light non-conference schedule against teams like Winthrop, Alcorn State, and Liberty before he suffered a season-ending injury. He had a 1.5 assist-to-turnover ratio as a rookie and made some improvements as far as taking care of the ball and his decision-making, but he still pounds the ball a little too much for me. Colin Darnell Sexton is a bucket, and he's one of the most efficient scorers in the league. He shot over 47% from the floor and 38% from deep in his second year. In his first 2 years as a pro, Sexton has shot 39% from 3 and over 84% from the foul line. So it's pretty safe to say that he's put in the work and has silenced everyone that questioned his jumper coming into his rookie year. In college, he only shot 33% from 3. What was once considered a weakness is now considered a strength in his game. Now that he's answered questions about his shooting, the next step is for him to prove his numbers aren't empty calories and good numbers on a bad team. In my opinion, Sexton is an undersized shooting guard that needs to be paired with a point guard with size, preferably a big pass-first point guard that will be able to defend shooting guards. And if you can't tell, I'm personally not a fan of the Garland and Sexton backcourt, so addressing a point guard for me in this draft is an option. I'll also take a deep look at Georgia's Anthony Edwards. However, I have to ask myself, What's the biggest difference between Anthony Edwards and Kevin Porter Jr.? I don't think that there's much of a difference, but I do see Kevin Porter Jr. as an important piece to our puzzle. The next concern I have is depth in the front court. Now, Andre Drummond is our starting center, but we could possibly lose him to free agency this summer. He has a $28 million player option that he needs to decline in order to be an unrestricted free agent. I wouldn't be shocked to see him opt in, play one more year, and then look to test the market in 2021. Like me personally, I'd want him to stay. He's only 26 years old, but I knew coming into this job that there was a chance that he would be a short-term rental. Thankfully, the previous management only gave up a Snickers, a 7-Up, and whatever loose change they had in their pocket to Detroit in order to get him to come to Cleveland. So if he chooses to leave next summer, it wasn't much of a gamble and our assets weren't depleted. The next concern I have is Tristan Thompson. Tristan has been here his whole 9-year career and is arguably one of the best Cleveland Cavaliers players of all time. He was here when Cleveland was one of the worst teams in the league, but he was also here when Cleveland went to the finals 4 times and he won a championship in 2016. At 29, he may not be interested in rebuilding, so that's something that I'm going to have to consider. He's likely looking for another payday similar to the $82 million deal he signed in 2015. While I still believe that he has value as a post defender and rebounder, I may be able to get similar production along with upside out of the 2 bigs who should be available wherever we pick in the draft. So here's the dilemma. If Tristan Thompson decides that he wants to go home and play for the Raptors, and Andre Drummond is only going to play out his 1 year left that he has on his deal, then we'll be pretty thin in the front court. Like the guards, I think there's a 2-man race for the best center in the 2020 NBA draft. James Wiseman came into the season hyped up as the possible number 1 pick, while Onyeka Okongwu shot up draft boards early in the season, similar to his high school teammate LaMelo Ball. Wiseman's freshman season was cut short due to suspension after 3 games, so he really did not get a fair chance to evaluate him against college competition. He's an athletic 7-footer with a massive 7'6" wingspan with the potential to be a defensive anchor. At this point in his career, I'd say he's more talented than skilled, but he has a really high upside and shows some potential to be able to space the floor. Okongwu may lack traditional size at 6'9", but he's a physical inside scorer with a soft touch and some nifty moves around the rim. He also has the athleticism and vertical pop to play as a rim-running lob threat. Right now, I'd say Okongwu is the better defender of the 2, since Wiseman has a lot of ground to make up and is basically going from high school to the NBA. Okongwu averaged nearly 3 blocks per game in his freshman season and has shown flashes of being able to defend in space on the perimeter. So in conclusion, here's what I'm going to decide. If I end up with the number 2 pick, I'm probably going to select a big. I know a lot of people feel like you can't build around bigs in today's NBA, but I'm going to give it a try. I'll also give the Sexton and Garland backcourt 1 more year. They've only played 1 year together, and they're both super young, so maybe a little too early to give up on them. However, I do have concerns about them long-term defensively. But if it doesn't work out, interest in the Cade Cunningham sweepstakes for 2021. Thanks again for checking out NBA Draft Junkies, and my GM is Rafael Barlow signing out. Until next time.